Mediumship Chronicles from April 29th. Let's get into it. One evening, I was doing my regular TikTok stream where I do psychic readings and mediumship gallery. A gallery is where I sense the presence of spirit and then I bring through evidence of a loved one on the other side for someone that is visiting my stream. Well, immediately when I went live, I had an aunt come in. I knew she was an aunt on the mother's side of someone, but there was only 15 people in the stream. So I asked, did anyone have an aunt on the other side? And do you have a brother? Because I felt like the aunt was here for someone, a woman who had a brother. No one could take it. Now, if I was a developing medium, that would scare me, right? Because I'd be like, oh, I'm making this up. No one can take it, but I'm an experienced medium. I've been doing this for a while. So I knew that the aunt was real, but the person who was to collect it is not here yet. So I held that energy and I put it to the side. I kept doing readings. And then later, around the time when I had about 50 people in my room, I felt something. And this is the best way I can describe it to you, because as a medium, my body is used like an antenna. So when I was doing these readings, I felt something like that tingle. And I said again, is there someone in here? Is there a woman in here who has a brother and she has an aunt on the other side that is related to her mother? And a woman came forward. So then I started to describe her aunt and I got everything right. The description, what she was like, except I said she was a teacher. And she said, no, my aunt wasn't a teacher. I said, I see a lot of kids around her and I felt like she was like giving them lessons. She said, well, my aunt had 6 children and yes, she did homeschool them from time to time. I said, okay, now I understand. I got that she had passed from breast cancer. I got everything. So then I said to her, she has a daughter, right? And I got it wrong again. I said, she has a daughter and this daughter is really suffering about the passing. And why do I feel like the passing was recent? So she said, okay, she has 6 kids. One of the daughters is, yes, no, I said the daughter's name is Martha. And she said, okay, she does have a daughter that is suffering, but her name isn't Martha. She said she has another daughter, Martha. Martha is on the other side, and Martha just recently passed. And that is who the current sister is suffering for. So that's why when I went live that night and I had my mediumship energy on, is the way I like to call it, that's why the aunt came in, because her and Martha, I got a little bit of details mixed up, but her and Martha were there to comfort the sister who was left behind. And I relayed this message to her to give to the sister. Martha recently passed. She's with her mom. And I told her, I said, your family is very tight knit. She said, very. And I said, now it feels balanced because mom and Martha are over here, always with you guys in spirit. And you guys, the other 4, right, the other 5 are over here. And I said, one day you guys will all be reunited, but they just want to let you guys know, have fun, live life, enjoy. And they are doing the same thing. And one day you'll be a big, happy family again. The woman couldn't thank me enough for this message. And I was happy to bring it through. The other story that night from April 29th was a little bit more scarier. I got the feeling that a father was there and I saw him on a boat fishing. And this was in Louisiana. And I saw that he had a heart attack on the boat. And I said, can anyone take it? And a woman came forward and she said, well, I can't take it, but my friend who is not here, he can. That was his uncle, but he was like a father to him. I said, okay, I got the father energy, right? And then I said, your friend was about 6 or 7 years old when he passed. And she said, yes, he was 6. And I said, why do I feel like this is such a traumatic, what is about this situation? She said, well, the story is what happened was he was on the boat when the uncle passed and he was alone on that boat for 4 days. Can you imagine a 6-year-old was on the boat alone for 4 days? And that's why I felt remorse from the uncle. Now, I want to let you guys know, when spirit passes over and they leave the body, they don't have those feelings anymore. But when spirit is relaying a story to me, they will show me the feelings at that time, what was going on. The uncle was full of regret at that time because he didn't think before going on the boat to say, okay, in the case of an emergency, here's a phone, dial 9, or whatever the case may be. It was a young child. He just thought, we're going out fishing and we'll be back. But he had a heart attack on the boat, and was the child was stuck on that boat for 4 days. And I said, and he has long-term effects from it, like PTSD. She said, yes, he has severe abandonment issues. So the uncle came through to talk to that man, because they haven't had any sort of communication since that happened. And he wanted to let that man know he is fine, he is well. And then he apologized for putting him in that position, and he wants him to live a full and happy life and to know that everything is okay. I'm going to start sharing these stories with you guys because I do mediumship and psychic readings every night on TikTok between 11 p.m. to around 1 or 2 a.m., depending on how many people want readings. I do charge for the psychic and mediumship readings, but if spirit comes through like these two did, of course I'm not going to charge because I work for spirit, right? But I wanted to say something to those of you that are developing mediums. I am a professional medium, and as you can see from my storytelling, sometimes I get the messages mixed up. Martha wasn't the sister that was here. Martha was a sister on the other side. That man wasn't his father, it was his uncle. That is okay. Unless you're like a super professional, you've been doing this for many years and you were like very clean whistle, you can get it all, you're going to make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up if you do make mistakes. Just apologize that you got the transmission wrong and just keep going. I was able to bring healing and comfort and insight and clarity to 2 people that night through those transmissions. And I know in my heart that the spirit people were happy that I was able to facilitate the communication. So I want to start sharing these stories with you guys because I feel like there are a lot of really gifted, talented psychics and mediums out there, but you're doubting yourself. If I can give you one bit of advice, take training, especially from a mentor that you know and trust. I have several mentorship programs throughout the year. In fact, I have one starting tomorrow, Sunday, May 3rd. It's the Sacred Lotus Path of the Initiate. I would love to invite you guys in. I have 4 spots left. Please DM me if this moves you and you feel like you're ready to follow your calling, because I feel right now the world needs more light workers like us. That is my message. I hope that you enjoyed listening to the stories. Please drop a like and leave me a comment and let me know what you thought about these stories.